She seems amazing.
You know, I thought when,
And it should say stop recording at some point.
left
Yeah,
It's on now.
Phil Shores.
Perfect.
yeah.
Okay, so we have a quorum, and, so do I have a motion to open the meeting?
Motion to open?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay. So, the first topic, and what's the most important thing, is to vote for a new chairperson for the Housing Committee, because we don't have one. We haven't met for several months, until just last month. And then we have a couple of other agenda items to go through. So,
So, question,
Go ahead.
do you want to be chairperson?
yeah, I'll do yeah.
Then I move that we nominate Joe McParland to be chairperson.
Second.
Move to close nominations.
Move to close nominations. Am I supposed to say that, or you?
I do.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay.
So,
So that's that.
so now you have to vote for, we have to vote for you.
Okay. So the vote is for Housing Chair, Joe McParland. What say you?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that's that. So do I move to close again?
Nope,
All right, we're
that's all you
good.
need.
Okay.
We need a clerk
What's the clerk do?
with the minutes and that stuff.
Okay.
Do you want to?
Sure, I can do that. I did not, I literally jumped out the door, so I didn't
Don't
bring a
worry about
pen
it.
or anything, so. Can I start next time?
Of course.
Okay.
So didn't you tell me that they also record these and you get some minutes from here
So
too?
we can ask if somebody can help with minutes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
So I move that we nominate Claudia to be the clerk of the housing committee.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
In terms of, I know for me, I had to submit the minutes and things by a certain date, and, we also had we had to make sure they knew when our meetings were and all that good stuff.
So the two of you would coordinate on getting an agenda posted.
Okay,
The agenda gets mailed to agendas at town.harwich.ma.us. It should be in no later than the Thursday noontime before the meeting,
Right.
but you need 48 business hours. So Thursday noon should be okay for a Monday. If there's a Monday holiday, or if there's a holiday in there at some point, you would need to extend that deadline and get it in earlier.
I try and do it like a week or two ahead, the last two that I ran, and
Yeah.
it
Okay.
was good enough. And
And
then
the
there's,
meeting
I have to give you the
actually-
two, or I could, either way, we'll do it together, but I have to give you the two actual email addresses that you have to send it to. So
Yeah.
one's agenda.com, and then there's another one
Yep.
to the actual town.
So the other thing that there are a couple of paragraphs that have to go in to them as well for recording the meetings, and for the town clerk's office can give you the kind of basics that go on the other things that are missing from this agenda.
The biggest thing is which room you're gonna be in.
It's the room, it's the date, it's the
Yeah.
time, it's the everything has to be on the agenda
Yeah.
that you're going to discuss. And
So I got sent this, Mary, and Claudia, this was to give out to all of you for boards and commissions, and it's just informational that, you know, the open meeting law, so
they're
that's,
doing a training
so
tomorrow.
that's actually happening tomorrow.
oh, nice.
It's kind of interesting, actually, all the things that you have to know. I'm gonna go to the first one, early one, and,
Yeah, I may get.
because I haven't been to one for a while. It
Okay.
tells you a lot about what the rules in the road are for that.
Okay.
Um,
And are our meetings all scheduled, or did we just schedule them after each meeting, and then when we send in the minutes, that'll have the next meeting on it, so that's how it gets covered?
Right.
Okay,
So far, the Mondays have been good, because this one's in more boards than God. Mondays have
Mondays
been
are better
good,
for
and
me.
if they're good for you, we're gonna try and stay on Mondays.
so who else, Cindy, and is there somebody else on the committee? How many are there?
I don't know whether, I don't think anybody else has been reappointed.
No,
Meaning,
So-
so Cindy is,
Cindy is,
and nobody else is being reappointed?
I don't
Meaning
believe
They
so.
haven't signed up for it again?
I don't know whether Meg got reappointed or
Yeah,
not.
that was the other woman too, right?
Yeah,
Meg,
Patterson.
yeah. So, we should get a hold of her, Claudia, just see what she's doing.
Yeah, and see what.
Do you know
Cindy-
her, Meg Patterson?
And see what Cindy can do.
Yeah, whether or not she wants to be in, because she's twice told me she was coming, so I don't know what she's doing for work too.
Okay.
All right, so when we left last month, I talked about looking up what other housing committees do, and that was a little bit for me. And Claudia, you were going to talk to Cindy and do some other stuff, but and I'm going to get to you in a second. And then Mary was going to just find out about, which I really like, the housing questions that can go on the local census coming up. And so that's kind of cool. So as it relates to my stuff, I checked on Brewster, Chatham, Dennis, Yarmouth, and I know all these people now, and because I've talked to them many times, the Mary Wiegans of the world and Scalise and all of those people, but they all, just to capsulize what it was with these different, what a housing committee does in each one of these towns, sometimes they're called a little bit different name, but they all have a major role of either running or helping complete the housing production plan. And in most cases, so it falls under them to report out to like the housing trust and to whoever the select person is that we report to, Mary Anderson in our case, how we're doing with that and how we're moving along. And also, I was talking to Mary about this, about many times about this, about how the most successful programs have this housing advocate that we're trying to get now. And that's currently in, people are interviewing for that. So that they just that person is the central person that just makes the ball keep rolling down the hill.
Well, and I think that's the point of the ones that are working on the housing production plan,
Yes.
have staff and have money.
Well,
Two
that's
things-
true.
Two
Also,
things that we don't have.
nobody does this. We have to. And you would know this maybe better than I. You would have to request money, but nobody does this by themselves. Jill Scalise did not do the housing production plan. She hired a consultant, that Barrett woman, that does everything.
And that's what happened here too.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
had a consultant that was driving that draft,
Yeah.
and then it was reviewed by not only us but also planning
Yeah.
and others, so that there was buy-in before it went to the Board of Selectmen.
Okay.
And when was that done?
2016.
So we're behind, but
Well, yeah, but I think it'll be interesting to see what they did in terms of like, did they do any research in terms of like need?
Oh,
Right, so
she
need
absolutely did. It
assessment,
was,
so-
it included, that was the 22 units a year was the target goal. It mentioned, some changes to the ADU bylaw. It mentioned hotel conversions, which is, we are now starting to see, happen,
Yeah.
although not for necessarily year-round, more for J1s and workforce
yeah.
housing.
My friends that own restaurants, which Harwich just bought the hotel, and then my friend that owns Pate's bought a hotel just across the street, all just for the workers.
Yeah.
You know, and then just what are they going to do with the rest of the year? So I don't know. They're not year-round sometimes, but
So all of those things were in that housing production plan
yeah.
in 2016.
And the one other thing that they all did or are doing is took the role of, and we talked about this before, outreach and education, communication to just residents in general. So at a minimum, they do bi-yearly meetings like at the community center, and they put it out in 5 different social media things just to let everyone know it's going to be there, and they get a big audience.
Yeah.
And their role is to explain where affordable housing is now in the town, in housing, and then more importantly, what do residents want to see? I still, to this day, we have not had a meeting for that. I mean, it'd be lovely, to hear what people actually want. But, yeah, I mean, so those are the major things that I came up with, for the housing committees. And go ahead.
I know like one of the things we talked about was, like what the town wants us to do, because I feel like we're coming at it from like the idea that there's nothing updated. So we're kind of trying to figure out like where we fit into it, but it seems that to me confusing, right? Because it's something, when I joined last time, the town had a charge, they put it out there, we joined, we looked at that like every week.
Right.
And
So-
we're like, okay, so what are we doing? But now we don't have that.
So I
Right.
think we're still.
It's outdated.
We still need to fulfill the annual meeting with the Affordable Housing Trust to talk about the plan for the annual plan that gets submitted to the Board of Selectmen.
Right,
So that was a meeting that you and I went to and we didn't get a quorum for.
right.
So it's now that we're reactivated, I think we should probably reach out to administration and let them know that
Yeah.
if it's possible to continue to work on that, then we'd be amenable to a
Right.
joint meeting to try starting that back up.
Yeah. So, but to your point, Clay, the major thing, the major two things being the production plan and outreach and education, I think, unless some people disagree, should be our major focus. And in one way or the other, between the three of us, get a meeting in front of the Housing Trust, let them know that that's what we're considering. Get in front of the selectmen, right? And let them know that that's what we're considering to
Well,
do.
I don't think we're alone in the housing production plan. I think
No,
the
no.
trust, I think the trust has a big role in that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Right, because.
Oh, yeah,
Because they're the ones with the money driving the town
Yeah.
sided projects.
Yeah.
So, I think that step one is to reach back out and say, hey, we tried and failed at that first joint meeting because we didn't have a quorum in our board, but we're active again, we can get a quorum and would like to talk about rescheduling that.
when you say talk to who?
Joe,
Oh, okay,
as the chairperson of the Housing Trust.
okay,
Because that's a part of the charter is that we're supposed to meet with them annually to discuss a housing plan, annual plan.
right,
Their charter,
br-
because our charter was written
Theirs.
before they existed.
Theirs.
Okay.
Theirs says in the bylaw for the Affordable Housing Trust, says that they are supposed to meet with us annually and together we are supposed to propose an annual plan to be presented to the Board of Selectmen.
yeah. So that's our first, so the first task is to get to Joe and let him know that we're ready to meet with the trust.
That's what I think we should
Okay, good,
have as the
okay.
first step.
Would we go, I'm sorry, I know I did this last time I asked a million questions,
Nope.
but it seems again like we're, like I guess I'm wondering why like the town administrator or somebody hasn't given us, or the Board of Selectmen, given us an updated charge, right? Because we didn't come up with it. Like
Right.
Right.
we volunteered for something that existed.
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily, I think it is still what it was, because they haven't necessarily changed it yet, but still, there
Well,
isn't
it
anything for
was
us.
that we were gonna help acquire affordable housing, and we don't
Right.
do that.
Right.
So if we're not doing that, I guess I'm
I
really.
don't disagree with you.
So I don't know what we're doing. So for me, that would be more important than scheduling a meeting with the housing trust.
But that is a bylaw responsibility of us, under the Affordable Housing Trust. We both have that responsibility, that is like, that's in
Right,
the.
that we meet once a year.
That we meet once a year with them to help develop an annual plan. And I think that is one thing that we need to do. I'm not saying we don't need a charge as well, but that is also something that both boards are required to fulfill.
Right. But I think before we get to that, in front of that group, we have to agree that our focus, our charge, if you will, at least for this coming year, is to help with the housing production plan. And I think that the major for us is to be involved with outreach and education.
I don't disagree with you.
Okay,
I just think, it's somebody's gotta clarify it for us, right?
Yeah, I think that I agree that that's what we technically should be doing. That's what they do. We
Right.
do outreach. We do all these things that we used to do, except acquisition. But we also had money. We also had support. We had a select person at every meeting. We had the housing authority we had support.
I know.
So I guess what I don't understand, and I know you guys are limited in what you can say.
Right.
But like, I don't understand. Like, if we don't have support to do it, then why are we doing it? Like, I don't want to sell the housing committee as here's what we can do to help. If they aren't bought into it, why would we do that?
Well, I think that's the purpose of the meeting with the trust, to tell
Okay.
them what our purpose is going forward. Because we already met with the trust, and I mean, one of the things we asked is like, why don't you have one of you guys on our board and us on their board? They did not want anything to do with that.
Yeah.
So that's a great example. It's like, but at least we clarified that's what they wanted to do, you know. But so in this case, I think we got to meet with them and say these are the two things we think we're going to do. Again, with the assistance of a housing advocate and others, but and other consultants. But that's our focus.
I think the point of the bylaw provision was to acknowledge that both committees had a role in setting the agenda for housing before the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
So I think that was the point of it. It was a way to keep this board still involved and acknowledging that the housing trust is new and is really,
Right.
kind of the new means to really drive development and to drive the numbers.
Right.
So I think that was the purpose behind it, but now we have to follow through on it.
Right.
It had never been done before. We had had one meeting that wasn't a joint meeting. We had one meeting where Don had come to our housing committee meeting and we talked, but it wasn't a true joint meeting
Right.
as is required, so.
Clyde, you have no idea. We've been stopping and starting for 2 years.
Yeah.
Longer than that.
Well, it
Stopping and
makes
starting
sense.
since 2016.
Yeah.
It makes sense because they didn't change it when they created the housing trust. So we have no
Right.
Exactly.
guidance, and so we're trying to create our own. And I think
I
that's where my
think, I think, I
confusion
think,
comes
I think
from.
you have to, because when we went to the, in years past, when we went to our representative, what do you want us to do? He's like, well, that's not my job. You tell us what you want to do.
No, it is their job to come up with our charter and what we're supposed to do. I mean, that's how the committee was created.
We had asked to change the charge a couple of times and the charge pretty much stayed the same a
Yeah.
couple of times, so.
Yeah.
But the charge is to acquire affordable housing, and we literally can't do that because
Can't-
we don't have
no.
any money, and we
No.
don't have any means to do that, so that can't be our charge.
So to your point, I mean,
Okay.
it has to get changed as
But
it
is that
exists,
a town
right?
administrator? Like, I don't know why we're
No,
going
it's
to
a
the
board
trust.
it's a board of
Or
selectmen.
Board of Selectmen, so why
Yeah.
wouldn't we go in front of the Board of Selectmen and request we need to know what you expect or want from this group? And
Right.
or if you don't want this group, and you're gonna cover it with the advocate, then fine.
Right.
Like, 100% fine. But like, we're here to volunteer as citizens because we believe in affordable housing, so what would you have us do?
Yeah.
And if you want us to come up with it, then here's what we come up with. We're doing education, we're doing outreach, we're doing advocacy, we're gonna work on the housing, this is what we propose.
Right.
Do you agree? Yeah, we agree. Okay, this is our charge. Do you approve of that? And that's what
Right.
we're gonna do going forward? Do we have any
Right.
money? You know, what's available to us?
Right.
Because we can't do it without,
I can tell you, all these towns I talked about,
I know
there's,
you've done all of
no,
this
no, there's not,
before.
but my point is, there's not one town that doesn't have a housing committee. There's not one town, whatever they call themselves, that, not only that, the housing committee has a real role,
Right,
and, to the point where in Brewster, they were meeting twice a month as a housing committee, because they were so excited about what they were about to create in terms of communication and outreach.
yeah.
And they were very, very, very involved. So,
And
it'd be
that's how it
sad
used to
to
be
have us
here.
go away and not have a committee. you
Yeah,
know.
it would, but I guess if the town is not able to make a decision on it, like, that's how we were. We met,
I don't know, Maddie, you
Once
think
a
it makes sense to, like Claudia says, to go in
think-
front of the selectmen first?
I think I don't think it matters either way, but I think you reach out to the selectmen and ask to be placed on an agenda
Yeah,
to meet with them.
okay,
And I think we reach out to administration and say that, when we tried to have the annual meeting to discuss the housing agenda, we failed because we didn't have a quorum,
Right.
but we're now active again, and please advise if you have time to do
Okay.
a joint meeting and try and hold the meeting that
So I think I'll do that first. I'll call,
didn't
I'm
happen.
going to talk to Joe Powers anyways on both
Yeah.
parts, so.
Is he the housing trust?
He's the housing trust
Yeah.
Is he a
chairperson.
selectman too, or no?
No, he's
No,
the
he's
town
town
administrator. He's the
So,
town administrator.
Oh.
administrator, so,
The Affordable Housing Trust have the town administrator now as their chairperson.
yeah,
That's the
Oh,
new
well,
statute.
then we'll just see whatever hat he's got on, that's the question.
At the time, yeah.
So whatever hat can answer that, yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be a fascinating, good conversation. I love this is getting recorded.
yeah,
So, yeah, excelente.
yeah.
You're like, who is this girl and why she got so many bloody questions?
No, it's good. So that's, I'll do that on both parts, so,
Okay,
I'll just start with Joe.
because I tried to read as much as I could online, but it just kept going in circles.
Yeah, it does go in circles.
Okay.
Mary, so did you have?
So I reached out to Joe with the concept, and we will have to see what any additional cost would be at the time. He was going to look into seeing if there were funds, and then we can talk to Emily when she's
Who's he?
getting ready. Joe.
Oh, is it something that's normally done on the local census?
So I have never had an affordable housing survey as a part of a census. We do occasionally add things to the census, like we might put in a flyer for dog licensing, or we might put in a flyer for beach and dump stickers or something like that.
Okay,
So certainly there is room to put something additional in it. It's just an added cost to the census. So I would expect that we would want to have some funds to help
what's the funds for?
support that.
What are the funds?
Help pay for the mailing. So the census
Oh,
mailing isn't an inexpensive endeavor,
no,
because it goes to, every household.
yeah,
So additional sheets getting added into the census
oh, I see, I
is an
see.
additional cost.
Okay,
So I'm just saying, if we want to do it, I think it's a great way to do it. It's certainly cheaper than doing our own mailing. We also could look at doing an online one, like a Survey Monkey through the listserv that we have for the robocalls.
oh, yeah.
Reverse 911 calls. So that's another way that we could go about trying it.
What's his time frame for this?
Census doesn't go until after January.
Okay,
So we have time to think about that later this fall.
okay, good. All right, good. And Claudia, did you get any info in your research?
No, I didn't, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't.
Did you
connect
talk to
with
Cindy at all?
No,
Oh.
I haven't.
Okay,
So I'll try and reach out to her just from even just a standpoint of, on the clerk and on how's the day work and what works for you and are you gonna be part of this and all that good stuff.
okay. So, and my discussion piece is already, that's what we just did. So I the two things my takeaways is talk to Joe about getting in front of the housing trust and also making, getting put on the agenda going forward as to, as a housing committee.
So the other thing that we didn't
Yeah.
agenda on this
Go ahead.
was CPC. But I think you're probably getting reappointed anyway. So.
Well, I was gonna ask you that after this meeting, but
Yeah.
I have to, send a letter now that's, now, first you had to have a chairperson, I guess, and then you could send a letter to Joe's office and say,
So it's two separate votes.
two separate what?
To be the representative to the CPC is a
Oh, you're
different.
saying something different. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay,
So, so we should agenda that for our next meeting if we need to, if you're not on
I
tonight's
think we should
agenda.
make a motion now,
For
because,
agenda, we can't.
son of a gun, so
On
many
agenda, we
rules.
can't. Let me just see what they're doing on, I haven't looked at the selectmen's agenda.
The CPC chair calls me in a flurry, says you're not reappointed
Yeah, but
yet."
I think it was all set, because I know I was on the agenda for tonight.
Oh, so you think I still have time? Another year?
Yeah, I don't think, I'm not sure what it is, but we can find out.
Okay,
Let me just look it up and see if there was something on the agenda tonight.
I was gonna take a look at the advocate job description as well, because again, as you know, I'm trying to figure out who does what, so the housing advocate versus the housing committee versus the housing trust.
Yeah,
I know,
and the housing authority.
and the housing authority, yeah. That one I'm not so confused about,
No,
no.
it's really,
just
it's
three
not really,
different roles within the same
they have a
town.
really specific role.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, and that's always been easy and clear.
yeah. Okay,
So I will, I'll take a look at that as well, just to see if I have any
okay.
info on it.
I'm losing my page every time.
But this all sounds really good.
Yeah. What were you looking up there, agenda?
Trying to see if there was anything agended for. I would say let's see what has happened on. My phone is just not cooperating. Yeah, I'm on the agenda today. I'm not sure
For here?
for planning board for CPC.
Okay,
So on our next meeting, let's put a CPC representative
I just made that
on
note.
the agenda.
Okay,
And then then if we don't need to by then we don't have to, and if we do, we will.
okay.
So
All
Joe,
right.
we'll work together on the next agenda so that I know what
Yeah.
I'm doing. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And I get you that information on the emails.
All right. I'll
Um,
put together my notes and then.
Yes, in the room? Can you identify yourself? How are you?
Good evening.
Hello, Art.
Art Bowden, citizen,
Citizen?
concerned citizen.
Any-
Thank
You're
Any
not just a
questions, any
concerned
thoughts?
citizen.
you. Before I came here, I said to myself, I'm not gonna say anything
Oh, wow.
because I get in trouble. I got a lot of things to say. I got a lot of things going in my mind about housing. I went to all these programs, seminars, on and on and on. And not that I became an authority, but I became educated.
Yeah,
And I also wear the hat of Habitat. And as I pointedly say, if it wasn't for Habitat, Harwich would have no housing program.
right,
And I stand by that.
yeah,
They're dancing on the edges, and they have the potential of doing great things. Operative word is potential. The trust, and I was an advocate of the trust, and I still am an advocate of the trust. And now the trust has money, they have land. What else do they need?
right.
Unfortunately, I took an early retirement in Charlotte.
Yeah,
So I know my place. And I know what happens when you speak out of turn.
yeah,
Anyways, what you're saying tonight is the same, and Mary will attest to this. We've had these same discussions for the last couple of years. And not to say that the door is closed, but you gotta have to keep knocking on the door.
But we were never asked to do our annual meeting that was required in the bylaw, and we were finally asked to do that.
yeah.
So
That's
I'm
a
taking that as a positive step.
Mary, I look at life the same way. every little, it might be just a spark out there, but if it's a spark, it's a plus, and you go with the plus.
Yep.
You don't beat up on the negative. So, so I think you have a golden opportunity here, because there's a lot of things that the housing committee can be doing, because the trust won't do them. They're up here someplace in their own world, which is good.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that the housing committee can be doing. And I think you just have to get the wind to your sails and do it. The housing production plan needs to be done,
Yeah.
and not to say you gotta bull your way through it, but it's gotta be, in conjunction with the trust. The trust is wrestling with their own, action plan.
It has to be in
Action plan
conjunction.
together. So they're no further down the road now than they were 3-4 years ago,
Right.
before the pandemic.
Well, I have to disagree a little bit. They have things percolating. They have bought land. They actually have land. They have done engineering surveys. So things are percolating. At least they have started.
You have
on
that,
projects,
and you have to-
so-
And that's good, that was a big plus. 13 acres is a huge.
So now they have to start making decisions what they're doing with the properties and whether they are
Yeah.
developable or whether they are not developable. But at least, again,
I'm telling you,
Progress is
when I
starting.
say this at the beginning, I'll say it at the end, that when the housing advocates or housing directors, whatever they call that position, they drive the train in a
course they
very
do.
quiet way.
But the housing committee has its own lane. And-
Yeah.
And like, Mary said, and it's also, you just have to, I guess, more define the lane, and also communicate that to the trust, that we each have our own lane. But our lanes aren't to collide with each other.
No,
They are to help each other.
yeah,
it's always been that the understanding was that this was going to support the trust once their programs got up and running.
yeah.
And it's been a slow road and COVID didn't help it, but at least things are percolating, so.
Yeah,
They are percolating, but you gotta keep percolating. And, and there's a few things built in there that, but you just have to work with them. And I think you can work with them. I really do. So, and you gotta get a full quorum here. You gotta get similar problems.
yeah.
But anyway, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for coming. All right,
I will be here again.
good. Anything else?
Now then, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Any motion to adjourn?
Second. I was
All in
thinking.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're out.
We just have to hit the
button.
off button.
Oh, yeah.
The upper right-hand corner, if you hit it in about,
And those
Ten.
boxes, the boxes
Yeah.
to your left, the
no,
box.
it's to the right. It should say stop recording. And just, you have to wait a minute